Good afternoon, all. I assume that my sound is working correctly. Checking with my colleague, yes is the answer. Great. Welcome to this webinar in which I will cover the topic of domain portfolio consolidations. As a note, this webinar is going to be recorded and it may be placed on our YouTube channel afterwards. And so that's the formal part. I'm happy to present this webinar together with Marielle Hoordijk. She is our team lead of the support department, and she's migration specialist. Also, our account managers Hisham and Stefan are available in case of specific questions. My name is Siemen Roorda. I'm product manager domains at Openprovider and involved in many consolidation projects. I expect this webinar to take around 30 minutes. After a general introduction, the two major topics will be transfer robots and registry bulk transfers. After each topic, there will be the opportunity to ask questions, but if you have a question during the webinar, let me know. Questions make webinar interactive, and interactivity makes a webinar better consumable for all the audience. So feel free to ask any questions that may pop up in your mind. I think it's easiest to use the chat functionality of Zoom for asking questions, but if you want to be unmuted, raise your hand in the Zoom app, and I think I will be able to unmute you. But before we start, I would love to know the audience a little bit. I've created a poll for that, and I never did it before. So let's see if it works. I need to find my Zoom again. It was so very simple a few minutes ago, but now I don't find it anymore. There it is. Polling. I think you should see the poll now. I would appreciate if you can all fill this in. It's just 4 simple questions, and it gives me a bit of an idea of to whom I'm talking now. I will run the poll for, I think, maybe a minute. Note that the poll is completely anonymous. Nobody will know what you answer or who answered what. Even I don't, and I'm pretty sure our sales department does not like it, but that's how it is. So feel free to just to answer what you, yeah, the real answers. Of course, we do have a back channel with my colleagues here, and indeed they hate me for being anonymous, but that's life. Okay, I get a note that the poll is not visible if there is a web client used. That's a pity. I'm afraid I can't do anything now against that, but yeah, well, it's not very simple. We ask where you are from, which continent, if you manage domains from another provider, if you ever considered moving your domains to Openprovider, and if not, what withheld you from moving your domains to Openprovider. And if you want, I can, you're writing in the chat, great. Anyway, I see that I think the poll runs now for 2 minutes. I'm not sure if anyone is still working it. It's a bit silent now on new results. I will close the poll now, otherwise I will never get into this 30-minute time frame. What I see is that the majority is from the Netherlands or Europe. 1 African reseller, very welcome here. Many of them do manage domains at another provider. Most of you ever considered moving your domains to Openprovider? Wonderful, because that's what you are here for. And different reasons for having not done so. Complexity is one of them, and 1/3 of the respondents says they're afraid about the complexity, and I hope that this webinar will solve that issue. So let's continue the webinar. I will end the poll now officially. Yeah, great. Can I share results? Let me see. Ah, okay, nice. That's new for us as well, sorry. I will not show this for a long time because then I think I can't continue. If you are interested, well, let us know and we gladly share it again. Back to the webinar. Need to close the poll. Yeah. Okay, as said, back to the webinar. I think it's good to say, to explain what I mean when we say portfolio consolidation. And in short, it's about moving everything to one provider. And of course, we hope that to be Openprovider. Well, consolidation is generic, and we are here from Openprovider. In the 16 years that we are active with Openprovider, we have seen that customers often register their domains at different places. And that could, yeah, mostly it's a result from the past. Think of a registry account at SIN, Nominet. GTLDs are often registered at another international registrar like Enom, ASCIO, Key System. There are many of them. There might be one or more accounts that were opened for just that specific exotic domain name, and maybe there's a supplier that you completely forgot about and sends an invoice every year. Another scenario is that you have acquired or you have merged with another company that bought their own accounts, that brought their own accounts to your company. So there are a couple of reasons for having a scattered domain portfolio. Yeah, maybe a nice example, also to show a bit what Openprovider can do for you. A nice example of this scattered portfolio is a project that I did many years ago for a big Dutch multinational. They grew through a lot of merges, and every office registered domains wherever they liked. And it's a multinational, so they had offices in many countries. The result was a portfolio of 600 domains. That doesn't really sound a lot, but it was literally spread over more than 150 different providers. The project that we did for them is moving them all to Openprovider, and as a bonus, we also standardized all domain data, as there were dozens of different owners and other contact data. Anyway, such a highly scattered situation comes with a lot of drawbacks. And the consolidation of your portfolio solves all of those, which starts with the fact that you can just focus on one single integration with your own systems. Management and operational are a bit alike. For example, you can work with one control panel, one support team, and all information is in one place. Of course, there's also a financial benefit. I'm not from a commercial team, so I will mention it, but not go into most detail. If you have questions, I think that's best to discuss on a personal level. The financial benefits obviously is the price. With our memberships, you get your domains at cost price, which is often lower than you pay now, even if you are a direct accredited registrar. But also simplicity of keeping only one prepaid balance and getting just one invoice per month instead of many. They all contribute to the financial aspect because you have, your overhead is lower. I hope it's a bit clear now what we mean with domain portfolio consolidation. And before getting to the details of the two major ways of moving your domains, I want to briefly describe Openprovider's experience in this field. First of all, we grew over the last 6, 7, 8 years from 10 direct accreditations to more than 175. For many of those accreditations, we had to transfer our existing domains to our own accreditations, and that experience is the basis for our consolidation tools. For over 15 years, we are doing bulk transfers for our own customers as well. And this ranges from very small portfolios to of just a few domains to customers with literally tens of thousands of domain names. Wherever possible, we try to do registry-based bulk transfers. which means that it's not a normal domain transfer, but the registry organized that domains are moved from one registrar to another. And especially the Dutch, Belgian, and .eu registries, they know us pretty well for sending in lots of transfer requests. If a registry-based bulk transfer is not possible, we may have supportive scripts to make your life easier, and I will come back to that in one of the later sheets. If the domains are managed through another registrar and not directly at the registry, we can assist with our so-called transfer robots. We have them active for, I think, around a dozen big international registrars. And also here, if the registrar is not supported right now, either we can build it depending on the volumes, or we have supportive scripts that can be used. So far the introduction. I'm going to get a bit more into detail. And as said, please ask questions as soon as you have them. I want to start with the transfer robots. Our first need for them was when we became an ICANN accredited registrar, and we wanted to move our existing .com domains and other GTLDs to our own accounts. We had a wonderful relationship with another registrar, but as we grew, price and direct control becomes more important. So that is the reason why we became ICANN accredited ourselves. And moving a few domains is not a problem. Moving a lot of domains is sometimes a problem, not with the right tools. The problem with the GTLDs is that GTLD bulk transfers are extremely expensive. They start mostly at $5,000 per TLD. So if we have a lot of VeriSign domains, which is .com and .net, would pay at least $5,000 each, so 10K in total to move them over. For that reason, we built something that we called renew as transfer. As soon as the renewal was done, we, instead of doing the renewal, we initiated the transfer. And because transfer always comes with a renewal for GTLDs, the effect was that for the customer, the effect was that the domain was renewed, and our benefit was that we got the domain on our own portfolio. We found that this method was valued by our customers as well. And over time, we have developed them from tailored scripts to complete and full service transfer robots that already transferred over 160,000 domains to date. The major benefit is the fact that it requires just a one-time setup. Our robots will do everything: the contact creations, the unlocks, retrieval of authorization codes, everything that is normally taking a lot of time to do yourself. Because of the transfers, they are scheduled just before the renewal dates. So the risk that you transfer a domain that your customer wants to cancel is minimal. Mostly you have an 10, 15, 30 days notice for canceling an order. So if that period is over, you know that your customer wants to renew the domain name. So the financial risk reduces to zero. It's a bit like the renewal as transfer that I just described for our own situation. What should you expect when you ask us to initiate a transfer robot? I think that is a question that many of you may have. The first thing is that our transfer team collects your requirements. You agree on a planning. That means, do you want to start right away, or are you now investigating want to start next month or whenever? Next step is that we do an initial import. In that initial import, we check the available contact data. Any incorrect or missing data can be solved by you, after which we can re-import the affected domains. And as a result, well, normally 95% of the domains can be imported without any problem. The rest needs a small change. And once that has been done, we can import, in most cases, your complete portfolio. Depending on your wishes, we can do two things. We can start the transfers immediately, or we can schedule them shortly before their expiration date at the current provider. Immediate transfer, the benefit of that is that well, you're done in a week with everything. Well, financial is the drawback of that, because each transfer comes with a renewal. You need to pay that right away. Plus, you don't know which customers would cancel their domains later on in the year. Still, we have many customers choosing immediate transfers because of the short time span of the complete process. That was a general setup. If we look on a per domain level, the transfer robots go through the following steps. At the moment a transfer should start, we read the current contact and name server data to ensure we don't transfer with outdated data. You perfectly well can have initiated the transfer a long time ago. Your customer asked us to update the data, you updated the data, and it would be, well, useless if we use the old data. So that's why we read the current data once again. The system, the robot fetches the authorization code, it unlocks the domain and initiates the transfer. In some cases, we do have to change the email address temporarily. For example, if we cannot retrieve the authorization codes ourselves. And some registrars are sending them to the domain owner only. So that's the reason that sometimes we have to be a bit creative in getting that code. In the end, after 5 days, the transfer is finished, and for that specific domain, the transfer is done. This repeats for each and every domain, and in the end, normally after a year, the bulk transfer is done, is completed, and your domains will be at Openprovider. So how to act if you are interested? And maybe this is a good moment to check the chat for a few questions if there are, because this was the technical part. We're now heading to the, well, the organizational part. And if not, I would just continue talking and answer any questions in the chat during the talk. Anyway, what to do if you are interested? The first step, always contact your account manager through Openprovider, sales@openprovider.com, or go to the control panel, initiate a portfolio consolidation there. There's a separate item for it in the control panel, and it will allow you to identify your current registrar, provide some data, and we will get it and start a robot for you. There's a question whether or not it works with PowerPanel as well. PowerPanel is not a registrar. PowerPanel is a software like Plascan intermediate software, and for that reason, a robot makes no sense. If you have in PowerPanel linked Openprovider as a registrar, yes, of course, you can use our transfer robots, and the domains will inside PowerPanel move to the other registrar. We did the same for a lot of our own domains when we still had our concept info business running in PowerPanel. So the answer is, yeah, well, yes and no. Not as a registrar, but yes, in general, yes, it works. Together with your account manager, we will make sure that our robots can connect to the API of your provider, and we review your portfolio to see if all domain names can be transferred automatically. There could be some extensions that cannot be transferred through the robot, like .es for Spain, but we will cover that for you and inform you which part of your portfolio can be covered by the robots. We investigate if you want to do all transfers at once, what I just said, or schedule over the year. And of course, also how you want to handle ICANN's contact verification. This is a tricky point. I think it's even a topic in itself, so I won't go too deep into it. If you have questions, absolutely ask them on the chat, and either in this webinar or later on, I can follow up on that. Well, once all the above has been done, we will initiate the robots. You can sit back and relax while the domains are moving to Openprovider. I get a question about the Belgium registry. I'm not sure, Steph, do you mean only the registry, or do you, which is the the DNS Belgium, or do you also want the registrar BE, which is a registrar of the BE registry? If you're talking about registry, if you have your own account at the BE registry, or you manage a lot of BE domain through another registrar, yes. And I will come back to that later in this webinar, because that's the second part. Oh, sit back and relax, it's here. As said, we have transfer robots for over 12 different registrars. But of course, there are many, many more. If you have a substantial amount of domains with a non-supported provider, again, always ask us if we can do something. We have a big development department. This is one of our key unique selling points. So we will always see if we can help you. For some providers, we already have a sort of light version of the robots. We have it now for the Dutch registrars TransIP and Versio, but we can create it for any API-enabled registrar. And the main difference is that scheduling of transfer data is not supported, so it's all at the same moment. We also have, yeah, that's an ugly one, but we have it and it works, CSV import. In some cases, you can create an export from your registrar, but there is no other way in which we can do a bulk transfer. In those cases, we can move your export to a CSV file that we can use as import, and we can import them as normal transfers. In the next slides, I've put a quick overview of the providers for which a robot is available. Oh, wait, I see I have even more here. CSV imports, like I said, you deliver a CSV with all the data. And the difference here is also that you are the one that has to get the data. You are the one that has to unlock the domain names, get authorization codes. Why is it beneficial over a normal transfer? Because we do everything else. We create the handles, we put the transfers in our system. So you deliver the data, you prepare the domains for transfer, and we do the transfer. So it's a bit faster, and especially for bigger portfolios that have easy export functionalities, it's a good alternative if there is no other alternative. Like said, this is a selection of the supported registrars. Not a selection, this is our list of registrars. If your provider is in this overview, well, you're done in fact. You can contact us and we can start it immediately. For existing robots, there is also no minimum of domain names. If you have an open SRS account or whatever with 10 or 20 domains, just contact us and we can start your robot without any problem. If you have an account with another registrar and want a robot, yeah, well, there is a lot of development time. Not a lot of, but there is development time in it. So we need to investigate what we can do if we need to charge for it, yes or no. Again, account manager is your friend. I see a couple of questions in the chat. They're answered as well. Let me see what Mariella already answered. Johan asked Internet of Key Systems. Yes, absolutely. Yes, we use those really often. Yeah, and indeed, like Mario said, we need to connect to your account. So the first step in each robot is also that we establish an API connection, which sometimes means that you have to add our IP address to your account or create a separate API account. But we will walk through that with you. And I think we should not go too much in detail on that now for sake of time. That was my last sheet for the transfer robots before heading to the registry bulk transfers. Let me see if there will any question be. I will wait for, well, half a minute maybe. And if not, I will slowly continue to the next slides, which are about the registry bulk transfers. Yeah, I wanted to share a nice picture with you. I don't know if you joined the trivia quiz a while ago, a few weeks ago in the Openprovider bar, but this was one of the questions: which registry does not support easy registry-based bulk transfer? And honestly, I was surprised that so many people thought .eu, URED has no bulk transfer option. In fact, we do them quite often, and the right answer here was Danic. The e-domains, they don't have a registry bulk transfer. Luckily, we can transfer them easily in bulk, but not on registry level. It must be done like normal transfers. So what do we consider a registry bulk transfer? It's a transfer where the registry moves the domains between two registrars. And that's a different process from a normal one-by-one transfer. In most cases, just a matter of signing a single form, which we use to send to the registry, and then we import the domains to your account. The most important requirement is that you should be a registrar yourself, or at least your current provider is willing to cooperate, because the approval of the current registrar is required in order to perform a bulk transfer. And that's a good thing, because otherwise everyone can move all domains everywhere. If you are not a registrar yourselves, we can do a partial bulk transfer. Just transfer the domains that belong to you. And for example, if you have a lot of .nl domains with name and registrar key systems, we can contact them, or you can contact them and ask if they want to cooperate in partial bulk transfer. And we have done that a couple of times with several registrars, and in most cases it wasn't a problem, it wasn't an issue, and they were willing to cooperate. As said, we automatically import after the transfer has been done. We import all the domains, all the contact, all the name server data, and that leaves for you exactly nothing to do. The biggest advantage of a registry bulk transfer is that expiration dates, they don't change. So your registration periods to your customer can remain as they are as well. Remember when we were talking about the robots, there you see that GTLDs, for example, they will extend with a year. Extensions like .be, they will restart the registration period. So your periods in your own administration might be out of sync with the registry. That's the advantage of a bulk transfer, the dates. Everything remains the same, also the expiration dates. Registry bulk transfers are supported for quite a lot of extensions. And the list is absolutely not complete. If you are a registrar yourselves and want to move domains from another registry, let us know. We can also check what's possible and also inform you about the costs. And yeah, the last one I wrote down here is GTLDs. Like I said before, they are terribly, terribly expensive, especially compared to the CCTLDs. For example, .eu is free of charge, .nl is 50 euros, .be is from 500 euros. So the amounts vary a bit, and depending on your situation, it's very cheap or it's still expensive. But GTLDs, they are so terribly expensive. We do them sometimes, but it always takes some breath to take before a customer says, okay, let's do it. Maybe some nice numbers before heading to the next slide. Until now, we have done more than 270 .nl takeovers for a total of more than 300,000 domain names. .eu and .be takeovers, they're a bit less, but still dozens of them, summing up to around 100,000 domains. That shows a little bit that the experience that we gathered over the years. Yeah, I think it's obvious that we love the registries that offer those registry bulk transfers. And we encourage every registry to implement it. Some registries, they don't offer bulk transfers, and for them we have created tools to make life easier. They work by smartly exporting and importing data. And two examples of those scripts for the that the most heavily used are .uk and .es. If you have another registry where you are accredited yourself, let us know. In most cases, we have the ability to do something. In last resort, it could be through EPP or whatever. So we can do a lot for you. Again, your account manager, I think they will be busy the next days. Yeah, this one was a bit quicker, as I already promised in the beginning. It's just not that simple. It's one form and we do the rest. In case, yeah, we do have Dutch attendees here. 2 weeks ago, I presented a more extended webinar about the registry takeovers, which covers it more in detail. So it was in Dutch, so it's only for the Dutch audience. If you're interested, check our latest newsletter. It contains a link. And I see that Marielle has pasted a couple of links about the .be, .nl, and .eu transfers. Just click them. They refer you to the knowledge base. And that explains everything you need to know about those takeovers. I'm waiting for questions. It's silent. Last webinar was a bit more interactive. So do you have questions? You can also ask questions to all panelists so that they are private and I can answer them in a more generic way, if you prefer that. And while waiting for that, I will slowly move towards my very last slide of this webinar. What is important to know is that this webinar forms part of our approach our attempt to be a bit more outreaching since the start of the Corona pandemic. Everyone was sitting at home, so I think around 2 months ago we started with a trivia game in an Openprovider.bar. And that was such a big success that we decided to do that every week. So every week we have an event on Friday afternoon. And we try to do it 1 week a trivia game, which is a sort of pub quiz, and sometimes completely dedicated to domain names, sometimes different. And I prefer the first one because my scores are higher there. And the other week is the webinar, like this one about the bulk accreditations. We have done a webinar about migration that we did before. We will have our next webinar 3 weeks from now, not 2, but 3 weeks for planning purposes. That webinar will be presented by Marielle, and she will walk you through our support process and provide info, tips, tricks, everything from our years of experience. You can see it as a sort of live Q&A with our team, support team. In between next week and in 2 weeks from now, we have 2 trivia games. The first one is next week at 1 o'clock again. It's Openprovider organized. The next one is organized by Sectigo, the new name of Komodo, the certificate authority. So join openprovider.bar to get the link to join those quizzes in time. The webinar, I think, Marielle, can you share the link for sign up to the webinar? And I see another question. I understand the transfer robots keep all existing data, so it's risk-free. Yes, everything we do with bulk transfers is without changing data. Of course, the transfer changes the registrar, but it's risk-free. The only thing that we don't do is take over your name server configuration. So if you now have your name service at another registrar and we take it over, we take over the name service to the link to that registrar, like ns1.enum.com. We don't move the zone to our own name server. We can do that for you, but that is a separate project to do. So I hope that is clear. Maybe a question that we sometimes get is about the if customers notice something from it. I'm continue talking so that you have the opportunity to ask more questions in the chat. Is the registry bulk transfers, normally the registrant doesn't notice anything. Of course, you must inform them. That is a requirement for most registries, but that can be as simple as putting a note in your newsletter or on your website in which you say, for example, because of administrative benefits, we are moving our domains, and well, you won't notice anything. If we're talking about the robots, which act on normal transfers, yes, your customers may notice something, because in some cases, the registries send emails to the domain holders. Yeah, in the initiating the robots in our talks with you, we always will advise to be clear in your communication to your customer, to explain before you start this, what you are doing, why you are doing it, and what they can expect. For example, it would be a pity if you start at 1,000 domain transfers and 200 of them, they click, no, I don't want to transfer the domain in the email, which means that we should do it again. So communication is key in all cases. Well, if there are no questions anymore, you can always ask them to sales@openprovider.com. They are more than happy to answer any question that you may have. And I would like to thank you very much for your presence and listening to this monologue. Also, thanks to you, Marielle and Hisham, for being here and moderating the questions. Like I said, if you have a question at a later moment, sales@openprovider.com. I wish you a safe, nice day. Stay safe and healthy, and we hope to see you at one of our next events.